Welcome back to the cardinalsports.com recruiting chat. I'm Dave Lackford. I'm your host. We've got questions. I've got the answers, and let's get right into it. So I'm going to answer the first question from Card Strong 91. Okay, so his question is about official visitors. So if you don't know, Louisville has a plethora of kids coming in on official visits here this week. All right. And if you go to our page here, you'll be able to. Oh, sorry, I thought I had that open already. So if you look here, we got our official visitor watch. You want to go open this up, and you will see the player cards of all the kids who are trying to visit. If my computer decides to ever work, everything will start popping up, and you will see their cards here, and you will see the dates in which they're supposed to visit. So, Card Strong 91 says, of the official visitors in June, which ones do you think are most likely to commit to us? And I guess he's just saying overall in general, not necessarily on their visit. So I think you have a really good chance of getting Albert Red here. He's 6'3", 212. They like him at linebacker. I think they're taking two linebackers in this class. They already have one, obviously, with Popeye Williams. But I also think that if they get Trey Donaldson, Trey is going to play the guard position. And I think that Albert's a bigger version of Trey. So whichever one of these guys pops first, I think that'll wrap up the linebacker position. I like Trey Donaldson I think he is preferred at this point in time. That's just a gut feeling. That's not me speaking for a coach. That's just what I think. I think Trey is preferred at the guard position right now. I don't know if Red is going to be a guard or a middle linebacker, an outside linebacker. I'm not sure, but I know that they like him as a linebacker. I feel more confident that Trey Donaldson is going to be the guy over Albert Red. However, if they miss on Trey Donaldson, I think Albert Red is the guy that jumps on board. Stone Blanton is also an inside linebacker who is highly coveted by the staff. However, I think it's going to be hard to pull him out of Mississippi when he has offers from Ole Miss and Mississippi State. The reason Louisville is getting a look is because he likes their baseball program, and they like him. That he also is tight with Derek Nicholson and Coach Court Dennison. Nicholson was down at Southern Mississippi as a coach, and he's known that family for a minute. And Stone has close family friends that live in Louisville, and so like basically his aunt, play aunt, if you will, and she lives out here, so he's excited to come out here and check out the campus. And he's coming for the official, so I think he's like definitely a take, but I don't know if. I don't know that Louisville's number one on his board right now. I think that, Mississippi or Mississippi State's got to be the team you got to really think those are the two teams that have the best shot at him being the in-state kid that he is. Kristen Miller is a bit of a long shot, but Louisville has done a good job to secure an official visit with Kristen Miller. The thing about this kid is he knows how to market himself on social media. He has a knack for it. I saw some Sports Illustrated articles saying he's one of the most sought after recruits in the country. And I was just like, well, that doesn't really, he's 118th. I've never seen so much hype over a kid who isn't necessarily ranked through the roof. Now, a lot of people think that he's going to go to Georgia. You see the future cast here. Russell Johnson, who's down in Atlanta, picked him to go to Georgia back in January. And then somebody named Carson McCray, who I've never heard of, picked him to go to Ohio State. I don't think anyone really knows where he's going. I think that Georgia is probably the team to really watch, being that the kid is from Georgia. But then the question will be, does Georgia really want him like that? That I don't know. But his official visit tracker here is Georgia, Louisville, and Ohio State. So, cards are in it, man. They got a fighting chance. I just wouldn't put my crystal ball in. Now, I know I'm going to get a question about these running backs a little bit later. I think that Justin Williams is a guy to watch for a commitment, but I also think Dylan Sampson is a guy to watch for a commitment. And then, let me make sure I'm not answering your question too early. So the ones that are most likely to commit, I think that KD Hutchinson, they're in a good spot for KD. Someone asked me about the Squirrel kid. The Squirrel thing, that ship has sailed, man. He's got like Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama. He's got everybody in the country now. So Marquavius White, I think is his name, a.k.a. Squirrel. He's a quarterback commit. Caleb Johnson's wide receiver down there in Alabama. He's probably going to go to Bama or something like that. Let's see who else. I do think Trey Donaldson is a guy who may commit. I don't really know much about the O-line. I know Patrick Cudis, however you say that, he's going to visit on June 25th, 27th. I know FSU is heavily involved with him. I don't really know much about the O-line because we got a new O-line coach, and I really haven't been able to find anybody that really knows him like that. So I'm going to have to get on that. Jordan Allen is another guy that I'd watch out for. Let's see what other official visits he's got to take. But of those players that I just showed you, I think the ones that are likely to commit, I feel good about Williams and Sampson. I feel good about Red if Donaldson doesn't jump on. I think Blanton, there's a good chance there, but it's a weird number situation, especially if Trey Donaldson wants to jump on. I think Stone's a Mississippi guy. KD Hutchinson, I think that they're in a good spot with him. As a matter of fact, I'm about a week or so away from making a determination as to whether or not to put in a crystal ball for him. So my source told me let's give it a week and see where we stand. So that means some other stuff could shake out. Wesley Grimes is another target. I'm not sure if they're taking one or two receivers. Jordan Allen, I haven't heard much on. That's who I wanted to look up. So let's see. He's got official visits set up to Miami. He's got an official visit set to Penn State. And he's got an official visit set with Louisville and one with Tennessee. All right, so he's got 4 of his 5 set up. So I think you're looking at a commitment around, I don't know, maybe January. People always think, he's got another official out there, 5 officials, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times these kids that list all these offers don't have 5 schools actively recruiting them at various points in their recruitment. Just because you get an offer, that thing expires. It's like the McRib, for a limited time only. And I don't know anything about it. So that's that. This kid is interesting. This is the one from the school in Arkansas with the coach who never punts and always does onside kicks. I think, like I said, I think they'll take a combination of, I know they want a home run hitter. They want this Jayhawks type guy, 5'10", 180. Sampson's 5'10", 175. Sampson is a world-class athlete with burner speed. I'm talking 4.3. 40 time speed, track star. He ran like a 10.4 or something already in 100. That's blazing fast. And then Justin Williams is your 5'11", 203-pound guy who's jacked, dude. Like, he's super jacked. And he's a between the tackles runner. So I think that if Williams jumps on, then he gets a spot, and then that leaves another running back spot for a Dylan Sampson type or for a Joseph Hyman. I guess that's how you say his name, type. All right, so that's what that is. Let's go to the next question. Could you see Louisville taking 2 running backs in this class, even with it being so small? Well, guess what? Eastern Kentucky Chow, I just answered that question. Also, do you think it's a realistic possibility that Selah goes and has a good camp in June at UL, that he turns into a tick? I do. I think that's a realistic possibility, honestly. I think they if they go there and see him, and if he's grown an inch or two and he's got a little more muscle on him or whatever, I think the problem with him is his length, not necessarily his build. I mean, he's probably like 260. But you can add to his frame. You can get him up to 295. That's fine for a 3 tech. You know what I mean? I think they just want to see if he got any length on him. And maybe he moves a lot better than they anticipated him moving. Maybe he looks more twitchy than they thought he was, or more explosive. So, and they say, you know what? That explosion overtakes the length problem. But like I've been telling you guys, man, he's just like, he's not high up right now. He's really not, because you could tell by look at his look at the likes. Look at the likes that you see on Twitter when he posts something. The staff is not on that. Cards Rule the World says, think Justin Williams commits on his OV. Good question. Probably not, but he could. I know there's a lot of hype on Twitter and social media, but kids are smart. They know which fan bases react to their content and who they can get stirred up. All right. I think he's going to visit. I know he's going to visit Vanderbilt, and I think he's going to visit West Virginia. So let's take a look. I put this in there. Nebraska. He's going to Nebraska. West Virginia on 6/11. Louisville 6/18. So if Vanderbilt doesn't get a visit, I would say watch out. I mean, he could. I wouldn't be surprised. That's my answer. Think Justin Williams commits on his OV. I wouldn't be surprised. Beantown wants to know, how much can Popeye or any recruit help with recruiting other players? If it's like a big time quarterback or something like that, yeah, because he's going to be the guy that's going to get other players on. You're going to get them good film, receiver, a tight end, offensive linemen want to go block for the top guy, right? But the thing is, the best quarterbacks usually already go to the best schools, who already have their own pool. They don't need help from a kid, So I would say, how much can Popeye or any recruit help with recruiting other players? I would say in Popeye's case, he's an outside linebacker. What? I don't know, a little bit maybe, if he knows a guy and that's his boy. But normally I think the general response to your question is very little. Can a recruit help with recruiting other players? Jay Hectus, with the visit weekends all lined up in June with their top targets and the camp circuit after that, do you see them setting up to go on a big run of commitments like we have seen in previous years and knock this class out early? I don't think so, because they're being super selective in this class. And I think the guys that they're going after are kind of long haul recruits, like we saw with Amari Huggins Bruce last year. They've been building up these longer relationships. They've got a lot of grad transfers coming in, and they have a small number of scholarships they're able to extend in this cycle. So I don't think they're just going to kind of do like they did in, not like last year, but like even last year they went on a little run, but they still had a couple other slots open. Let's take a look at that, as a matter of fact, because that's an interesting question. I want to visit that. Let's look at the commitment list from 2021, and we'll see when they got the bulk of their recruits. So you see these dates right here. So it looks like around, let's see what they did in June. They signed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players in June, and then 1, 2, 3 players in July. So that was 10 players. So they did get the most of their class. So with these scaled back figures, I think you could end up seeing them get. I think they could end up getting the bulk of their class. Maybe they could get like 6 or 7 guys right off the bat in June, and another 3 in July. And that's going to be 9 to 10 players, and they've already got 2 committed. And I think 15 is like the ceiling on this class. So it could, if they're accurate and if they're efficient on what they want to do when they get their guys, yeah. But if not, then we're going to see it play out past August, But I think the way the recruiting works now with the early signing period and all these spots being filled up is teams want to get this stuff out of the way by the start of the regular season so they can focus on film prep and training and all that good stuff and not have to worry about recruiting for the current class, and I think that is especially true with the Satterfield staff. I think that they put their emphasis on recruiting hard during the summer and then getting ready for that week 1 opponent and then keeping it in the film room and in the coaching room for the rest of the season, and then they go back and hit the road hard when the season is over. But that could change with David Cooper. He's not an on-the-field coach, and they're bringing in these people specifically to help out with recruiting. So you could see a kind of throughout the season push for a couple kids on social media that you haven't seen in the past with the new staff. So we'll see about that. Shoot 6 says, what do you foresee as the breakdown by positions we are trying to land the cycle? It kind of morphs a little bit, but I think quarterback is done, so that's 1. Running back, like I said, maybe 2, but if they miss on Justin Williams, I think they just take one of, the more – if they miss on Justin Williams, they're going to just take 1, okay? And they could go back to CJ Stokes, who's another guy to watch from South Carolina. So let's say 1, but maybe 2. But for the sake of conversation, let's say 1 because we're tight with numbers, okay? Wide receiver, I think they want 2. I think they want an outside guy and they want a slot. O-line, I think they want 3. So that puts us at that's 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 2 receivers, 3 O-linemen. So that puts us at 7, possibly 8 on offense, okay? And then D-end, I think they want 2 there. D-tackle, I think they want 1 or 2. Linebacker, 2. Cornerback, I'd say 1. Safety, 2. So that gives us 7 or 8 right there. So it's 2 D-ends, 2 D-tackles, 2 linebackers. So that puts us at 6. And then 1 corner puts us at 7. And then 2 safeties put us at 9. So that messes the numbers up. I don't know. Maybe it'll be 1 D tackle and 2 D ends, or 2 D tackles and 1 D end. And that way you would have 3 that you would have, let's say 2 D ends, 1 D tackles, 3, or 2 D tackles, 1 D end, that's 3. 2 linebackers gets us to 5. 1 corner, 2 safeties get us to 8. So that's 8 plus 7. It gets us to 15, which I think is the cap. And maybe they go over and they can get 16. Who knows with attrition, right? But that's a rough estimate of what it looks like. So again, 1 quarterback, maybe 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, no tight ends, 3 on the offensive line, 2 D ends, and 1 D tackle, or 2 D tackles and 1 D end. 2 linebackers, 1 corner, 2 safeties. That's what I think we see here. All right. So, Cardinal Cash, how serious of a contender are we with Christian Miller and Tawfiq Thomas at D tackle? Like I said, I think Christian Miller is kind of a long shot, but I don't, he's visiting officially. So, as far as Tawfiq, I called him and talked to him. I said, hey, have you set up that official visit yet? He's like, oh, I'm trying, man. So I don't know how much of a priority Tawfiq Thomas is at this point in time. I know they like him, but why haven't they set up an official with him yet? I don't know. I haven't really asked much about him because it just seems like why haven't you set up the official yet? But I could be wrong, but I kind of just wrote him off, to be honest. He looks he looks kind of too heavy. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think that they got other fish to fry. I think Christian Miller is the number 1 priority right there. And again, I think they're only going to take – actually, they probably take 2 D tackles and 1 D end. But anyway, I don't know anything that much about Tawfiq at this point other than he told me he's trying to set up an official, but he hasn't. And that was like 2 weeks ago when he told me that. And I reached out to him a week after that, and he never responded. So probably not good. Lake Boy 25. What other recruits do you think are on the radar as far as setting up an official visit soon to Louisville that have not? Well, Tawfiq Thomas, I was hoping. I think that they want to get CJ Stokes, I believe, is a guy at running back they're looking at. But if they miss on Justin Williams, then that's what it is. They've also offered a bunch of new guys recently. I think that Brian Parker, the center from St. Xavier, Cincinnati, is a guy to watch out for. Seriously, considering the fact that he's in Cincinnati, and they got to start recruiting Ohio. I mean, they just do. They got to start hitting some guys from there. Corey Kiner was a guy that, they were close to snagging. And he ended up at LSU, 4-star running back. So it's like, you got to start winning. You got to start winning those Cincinnati battles. That's about it right now that I can think of. Wesley Grimes, the wide receiver from North Carolina, would be a kid. I think his name's Wesley. That would be a kid that I think you got to watch out for, especially if Katie Hutchinson commits somewhere else. So that's about that. Let's see what the next question is here. At least that's all I've heard. I've been focusing on these guys that are officially visiting right now, but I haven't heard anything like that. Is Dylan Sampson or Justin Williams the top running back on the board? I think that both of them are on the board equally as takes. If Justin wants in and Dylan wants in, I think they'll take them both because of the heavy emphasis that the offense puts on the running game and the fact that Dylan Sampson is your, between the 30s type running back, and then Justin is your, goal line type big bruiser back, and your finisher to close games out. So I like Justin Williams and Dylan Sampson as a tandem. So they're both at the top. And then if they don't get Justin, I think they'll just take Dylan and they'll take that scholarship and put it somewhere else, probably somewhere on defense. Or they may give it to another receiver too. So we'll see. What chance do you give Louisville a landing Stone Bland? I already answered that one. I think that he stays back down in Mississippi. I have spoken with him. I spoke with him. He's still on track. He basically says all the same things that he's been saying. Nothing new is coming from there. So, I don't know. Yeah, CJ Stokes is the other running back from South Carolina. So I don't know. I think he fits. If you look at the height of these running backs, 5'10", 175, 5'10", 188, 5'9", 190. And then you got Williams, who's just built differently than everybody else at 203. So those are the guys that, to look at running back. I can still see them taking 2 running backs if they lose Justin Williams, but it'll have to be CJ Stokes. But I think he's leaning towards Vanderbilt for some reason, whatever. So Tesla 47, sorry to go on a rant there and talk about running backs when he asked me about Stone Bland, but I think Stone stays down in Mississippi. I'd be surprised, especially from what I've been hearing about Trey Donaldson and the numbers that they have at linebacker. So that's that. What do you make of them offering a top 250 player in Terrence Brooks to slate? He has offers from everybody. Why would we even bother? I'll tell you, I was trying to find out about Terrence Brooks, and he was the guy I was waiting on for the source to get back with me, but it never happened. And so that I wish I could tell you more about Terrence Brooks. I think it's just like, why not go ahead and get your name out there, see what can happen. Can't hurt to offer a kid. Who cares if he doesn't take it? It's whatever. Let's take a look at old Terrence Brooks real quick. See what we got here. Oh yeah, somebody asked me about Jared Beatty. I don't think he's going to come visit. I think he's all set up with the 4 schools he's going to go look at, which are Illinois, Minnesota, Texas Tech, and Michigan State. But that's where we're at with that. What was that kid's name again? Terrence Brooks. Yeah, Terrence Brooks. Let's crap. Let's take a look here. Terrence Brooks rivals. So he's already got a ranking of contenders already. All right, let's see what old Adam Gorney has to say about this. Texas A&M, Texas, Bama, Florida, Oregon. Yeah, I mean, good luck. All right. Why would we bother? I don't know. Maybe somebody knows him. Is it time to put in a future cast for Trey Donaldson, or is that just wishful thinking? I put that in, Tron. I put that future cast in. What do you hear and see as the top 2 to 3 position of need with this class? I think safety's been is a position of need because they're going to grad transfer route, and that guy's going to be gone. So you need safety. That's very important. Quarterback, they got it. They needed one. They didn't get one last class, so the only one they got before that transferred out. So did they get one last class? I forget. Oh no. That's embarrassing. Did they? I don't think they got one last class, right? But quarterback was definitely the big need. They got the Caleb Johnson kid. Hopefully he's the guy. You know what I mean? If not, going to have to go. Oh, well, they also got the kid from Nebraska, the McCaffrey kid. They got TJ Lewis, but TJ is more like an athlete than a pure quarterback. So is McCaffrey, honestly. Like McCaffrey is pretty bad. I'm not gonna lie, man. At Nebraska, he Wandale, loved the guy, but he said, he just wasn't helpful to Wandale's life out there. That's me. That's not Wandale saying that. That's me saying that. T. Webb is gone. So, I mean, what are we doing here? Quarterback is definitely important. And Caleb is going to be pivotal, I think, for the future. Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, McCaffrey just seems to be like a running quarterback. Now, can they utilize a running quarterback in this offense? Surely they can. He could be a good fit. It's probably a bad fit in Nebraska. Maybe he can be the man here. But what about Dakota Twitty? Dakota Twitty is not being recruited by Louisville. Next question. Who is the top target in the city of Louisville and the state of Kentucky, if any? For this class, nobody. Louisville's done with the state of Kentucky in this class. Dane Key is the last dude out there that would be at the Louisville, Kentucky level. And I don't think he dropped the top whatever and Louisville wasn't in it. So that's that. Any idea on numbers at certain positions with such a small class? I broke that down. That's 1 quarterback, maybe 2 running backs, 2 receivers, no tight ends, 3 offensive linemen, maybe 2 D ends, 1 D tackle, or maybe 2 D tackles, 1 D end, 2 linebackers, 1 cornerback, 2 safeties. That puts you roughly around 14 to 16. I think 15 is the number that in this class. Could be much smaller. We'll see. Shonda 97. What will, and by much smaller, I mean I've heard 12, but I think they'll get at least 15. They'll find a way to make 15 happen. All right. Shonda 97 says, what will it take for U of L to have consecutive top 25 recruiting classes? Shonda, they'd have to out-recruit. They'd have to out-recruit all the other teams that will be above them. So they'd have to, you know what I mean? They'd have to out-recruit everybody. Or is it even a possibility? I mean, it's probably not a possibility this year because of the small numbers. They would have to get a bunch of 5 stars to make up for the points needed because they're only going to have 15, right? So because the way Rivals works is they give you the points for your first 20. So whatever guys you have after 20 recruits, like let's say it's a 3-star, a 2-star, and then a regular like a 5.8, but he's not ranked in the top 250, and then 2 other 3 stars. Those guys won't count if they're the lowest ranked players. So your top 20 points get added up, and then anyone below that 20 don't. So they're not even going to get the 20. So they're not going to get the points. So I don't think that they're going to be able to be in the top 25 unless they land a significant number of 4-star players. And I just don't see any like that out there on their board right now. So I don't think it's a possibility this year. However, in the future, who knows, man? Should they just dive headfirst into the portal and try and make classes up of already college players? The problem with that is you get a bunch of free agents. You get a guy who's, he already transferred from one place. Now he's coming to you. And he doesn't have he's got to get brought up to speed on the terminology that the coaching staff uses. He's got to get up to speed with the overall concepts of the offense and defense, and then you got to get to know the players on the team. It's just easier to it's easier to fill gaps with those players rather than make a foundation with those players. So I wouldn't make classes up of already college players because I don't think that's a good foundation. You want a few plug and play guys, but you want to build your team from recruiting them up since they were high school players. Same thing in the NFL. You want to build your team through the draft, not free agency. I worked for Tampa Bay, but how often do you get, Tom Brady in free agency? And Clemson was in the middle of the pack and just exploded onto the national scene. What would make Louisville do that, if even possible? I don't know, man. I don't know. Start paying cats, give them cars. Telsler 47. If you were to say 5 of Louisville's top offensive prospects as of now, who would they be? If you were to say 5 of Louisville's top offensive prospects as of now, who would they be? It would be the 2 running backs, Justin Williams and Dylan Sampson, and then it would be Hutchinson, Katie Hutchinson, the wide receiver. And then, of course, they've already got Caleb. They're going to have to keep recruiting him. He's the quarterback. And then I would say some of the offensive linemen. I don't know. I would say, I don't know. What did I do with that damn thing? I screwed up the one board I really needed. So top 5 would be, I would say, Dylan Sampson, Justin Williams. I would say both of these tight ends are out. Caddis went to Kentucky. Foley went to Tennessee. Marquarius Squirrel White, they definitely would take him over anybody here, right? But is he a realistic option, and are they still recruiting him? I think they're recruiting Hutchinson more than they're recruiting him. So let's call him the 5th guy. But as far as the board goes, you would have those unattainable ones. But realistically, I think Sampson and Williams would be 1 and 2. And then I think that Katie Hutchinson would be 3. I think that and then probably some other offensive linemen. But those are the main targets. If they get those 3, if they get Hutchinson, Williams, and Sampson, that's a great job right there. I don't care what they're ranked. Those are dudes that they've been recruiting for a long time, put in a lot of effort with, and have ranked high on their board. So if you nail the guys you want, you get who you want. Who gives a crap what anybody else thinks? That's you didn't. I said this way back. It's like, how should we look at this class as being a winner or a loser? If you land your top targets, you won. That's there's no other way to slice it. Those were the dudes that you put the most time and energy in, and hopefully your evaluation process was good and you have identified the right players and they work out, right? But if you have your guys that you're identifying as your top players and you land them, hey, that's what you did. You were good effect on target, Gun to your head, you have to predict the next commitment. Who you guessing? I'm going to say it's going to be one of these running backs, and here's why. So gun to my head, I'm going to say Justin Williams because he just gives that that I'm about to commit vibe off. Trey Donaldson could be 2, but I'm going to go with Justin Williams just because I have a theory, and here's my theory. These 2 running backs are coming together on the same day, right? So I think with both of them coming on the same day, they're going to get the group pitch. You know, they're going to be like, look, this is going to be the 1-2, blah, blah, blah. We need both of y'all, right? So I think that Williams can see everything he needs to see, and Louisville would probably be his last official visit. Or it could be Sampson, because that other kid is coming later on. So this kid's coming on the 25th to the 27th. So I think what'll happen is Sampson will get that 18th to the 20th visit, right? And then if he doesn't commit, I think they'll put the pressure on him with Hyman to say, look, we only got one spot for a small back, and Hyman's going to jump on board, and you're going to lose your spot here. I mean, I've seen it happen a lot of times, and if you look at the way the visits bear out, it's kind of like, let's get these two on campus together, because if they weren't taking both, they wouldn't be there on the same day. They bring them in on different weeks. So the guy you knew you wanted more, he'd come first, you know, and then after he left, you'd be like, look, we might fill your spot with this other kid. That's how they do it. It's just what it is. So I think the fact that they're both visiting on the same date, they're going to be buddy. They're going to do the buddy system on the visit, and they're going to try to get both of them as a 1-2 punch. So I think those are the guys to watch. I think the running backs are the dudes to watch for the pop. Who are some 2023s in the state of Kentucky to watch this year? You know, I haven't been paying much attention to the 23 class, man, because I've been trying to figure out who's going to be in 22. They only got 2 kids right now. I'm not really looking at 23 like that, but I'll do an article on that later, Card Fan 59. Those are easy ones that people like to read. I'd rather do an article than just name some names. Purvis says, this may be impossible for you to know, but I'll ask anyway. Thanks, Purvis. Since the next recruiting class is so small, this one, is it possible for you to see the staff already working on the junior class? If so, what can you tell about the staff is doing there? Are there local kids that should be on our radar for that junior class? Yeah, there's a few that they've offered, and I'll get into more of that on the next. I'm gonna do an article. I'll type up an article later this week on the 23 kids to watch in Kentucky, because that's better done as an article than doing it on here, because I can pump some content out, you know. So let me do that, and I'll get back to you guys. I won't forget about y'all. Is Hutchinson a take right now, or they waited out for Squirrel? You waited out for Squirrel, you ain't gonna get anybody, because Squirrel's going to Bama or something. All right, that's it. That wraps it up. I am out of here. I got to get back to my regular job, my real job that pays the bills. So that's what we're doing. I appreciate everybody for asking me all these questions. And like I said, I'm going to get on that 2023 in-state article for the kids to watch from Kentucky. So I'm out of here. Thanks, guys. And I'll see you next month on this. And, be on the lookout for more content. I'll have some write-ups from the camps. I am actually going out of town here for a few days. I'll be back on the 7th. I think that makes me miss the first round of camps, but I'll be at more of them there on campus, because we're finally having the on-campus prospect camps going on once more. So I'll be out there to get the scoop on which kids are there, who look good, who's about to pop, et cetera, and all that. So we're coming up on the money time. So, be checking the board regularly, because there should be a lot more information coming at this point. All right. So thanks for watching, everybody. Peace.